Alright, so what is this, a Hariyama? Ash has battled one of these things before. In like a gym battle with Trico, and he made this big deal of finding its weakness in defeat. I wonder if he remembers the weakness. They probably won't bring it back again. Oh well, whatever. Well, that was pretty badass. What they did with the Z move and the Pikachu dodging like everything. Okay, now what?
Pikachu, quick attack! One more time!
Alright, what's he doing? Wait. Oh no, he wouldn't.
Yeah, now time to use Iron Tails!
There are Easter eggs, references, and callbacks to previous Pokemon series galore here in the Alola region, among other scenes that can be better understood with the help of a previous episode. Of course, some of these references are more obvious than others, and especially if you have not seen all 986 episodes of the anime, you've probably missed a few. So that's what this video is here for. All of the Easter eggs and references you may or may not have missed in the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime, up to episode 36. We're not even a full minute into the first episode, and we can already see one of the more obscure callbacks. When Ash stays underwater for as long as he possibly can, almost overestimating how long he can hold his breath. This has actually been done once before, and one of the very few other times we see Ash underwater without a breathing aid, like is usually worn when characters go underwater in anime. In the Orange Island saga, during episode overall series number 92, he also tried to hold his breath for longer than he probably should have, while watching Nurse Joy treat an underwater Pokemon. Although you would think that he would have learned his lesson after nearly drowning last time, this quirk seems to have not gone away. And he also had no problem being underwater during the movie Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea. The next thing we see is more of an Easter egg, but yet another detail referencing the Orange Island series. Apparently, Ash and his mom can go to Alola in the first place because Mr. Mime won a lottery game, as briefly explained in a flashback. But what you might recognize is a lottery game that Mr. Mime won is exactly the same style of lottery that Ash won in order to get blimp tickets to Valencia Island, which is what started the entire Orange Island story arc. Also with the Ketchums and winning tropical island vacations. They should use some of that luck towards, I don't know, not having any run-ins with Mr. Darkrai Hacker over there, maybe? The next detail, first occurring when Ash battles Team Skull in episode 1, but also being featured prominently in almost every time Ash has an important battle, is Pikachu running across Ash's arms. Some think this might be a reference to one of Serena's dance moves, where Sylveon ran across her arms in a similar fashion. Moving on to the end of episode 4, Ash almost leaves Rowlet with his family, showcasing one of his most faithfully held traits as a character. His willingness to allow a Pokemon to go their own way instead of becoming or staying a member of his team, if that's what he thinks would be best for the Pokemon in question. The way it was executed in this particular scene felt a little bit forced in my opinion, but it did get its point across. And in theory makes a decent introduction to this side of Ash's character for new viewers who might not be very familiar with it yet. Moving on to episode 5, we have the part where Ash frees the Pokemon from Team Rocket's balloon, only to just then realize that the Pokemon will land on the rocks. And then Lana saves the day. This careless mistake on Ash's part may seem arbitrary, but it is somewhat reminiscent of what happened way back in the Diamond and Pearl saga, episode 45, Ill Will Hunting, when Ash kept insisting on doing the first thing that came to mind, only to be shot down by Gary, who took his time to see the big picture. Gary turned out to be right up until right near the end, where eventually Ash was praised for his bravery in the conclusion despite the rocky start. This was a long time ago, and in theory, Ash you might think should have learned his lesson. But if you pay really close attention to the conclusion of that episode, it wasn't even so much of a lesson learned type episode so much as it was an awareness type of episode. Realistically, character flaws like this don't necessarily have to go away entirely. They can fade, or characters can improve themselves. But it does not always go away forever. After all, if they did, then when would become Mary Sue? And Mary Sues are boring. Ash has been acting without thinking and acting reckless since the Diamond and Pearl saga. It's just been a while since he's truly slipped up and paid the price for it. If bringing this flaw back into focus was intentional, this is a demonstration that they are willing to penalize the protagonist for his flaws now, which in the future could be interesting depending upon how they go about bringing it up again. But enough for that theoretical stuff. Because don't worry, things start to get really juicy when we get to the battles against Kahuna Hala and Kahuna Olivia. But before we even go there, in episode 6 we see Ash wearing a t-shirt with what looks like the surfing sprite from the original Pokemon Red and Blue video games. You know what your character looked like while it was surfing over water with Pokemon. In episode 7, and somewhat by extension jumping ahead to episode 20, out of the 3 main male characters, Ash seems to be the least bothered by girly things and stereotypically girly habits. Such as when he told Sophocles that picking a certain egg because it looked cute was a perfectly valid reason for Lily to have. Perhaps Ash has been influenced by Dawn and Serena in this department. Since Dawn taught Ash that contest moves can be useful in battle in the Diamond and Pearl saga, therefore Ash was very respectful towards Serena when she, for example, wanted to see a gemstone museum and even went out of his way to make sure that she and Bonnie can see it. The next Easter egg is the one in that battle against Kahuna Hala, featured in the prologue for this video. Pretty self-explanatory. Ash uses the same strategy against Hala's Hariyama to beat it as he did in episode 43 of the Advanced Generation series, just one of the geysers, against Brawly's Hariyama in a gym battle. This is Ash obviously using an old battle strategy he learned while at a previous region, which for many longtime viewers of the anime is mind-blowing. Usually when Ash comes up with a new or particularly special move, especially if it's not a feature in the games, he usually does not use it again after he leaves the region he learned or invented the move. One of the most notable examples being the counter shield he invented in order to beat Fantina, and he continued using it up through the Sinnoh League of the Diamond and Pearl saga, along with the spinning dodge trick he learned from Dawn in order to beat Rourke, the first gym leader in the same saga. Although I would argue that the spinning dodge has been used by Pikachu in the XY series at least once, but I digress. It's pretty rare for old strategies and moves to come back in the Pokemon anime, which is what makes Sun and Moon episode 10 so mind-blowing. Winding down a bit to episode 12, we see that Team Rocket's fishing lures in this episode are obvious callbacks to the Koffing and Ekans they once owned back in the original series Kanto and Johto saga. And this particular lure might be referencing episode 96, Meowth Rules, where Meowth was mistaken for a mythical Meowth of bounty, basically a god or something, and yeah, good times, good times. A highly recommended episode for Team Rocket fans. It would have probably been referenced as an Easter egg here because of its role as an early test of the trio's relationship as a team. Jumping a bit ahead, in more ways than one, to Pokemon Sun and Moon episode 19, a Guardian rematch, Ash makes a suicide dive in order to save one of his Pokemon again, like he has many times before. The most memorable example being in Pokemon X and Y episode 2, when he jumped off the Pokemon World equivalent of the Eiffel Tower in order to save Pikachu. In episode 23, we actually have a few little things to spot. Ash likes wearing a wig. I mean, it's not like it's the first time he's cross-dressed. Speaking of wigs, in Team Rocket's wig stall, we see wigs inspired by the past traveling companions of the main character. Specifically, May from the Advanced Saga, with the bow in her hair as she appeared in the first quarter of the movie Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, and this might be Brock's hair design from, well, up until he left the crew in the Diamond and Pearl saga, and his reappearance in later episodes. And finally, the band being themed around a singing Dugtrio may have been partially inspired by the first episode that a Diglett or Dugtrio appeared in way back in the Kanto saga. Episode 31, Dig Those Diglett, where the wild Diglett and Dugtrio sang a memorable song as they tended to the forest.
Trio, trio, trio!
In Pokemon Sun and Moon episode 28, we see the Electabuzz baseball team, Pokebase team, on TV playing against Team Magikarp. The Electabuzz team may very well be the same team that Casey, a reoccurring character in the Johto saga, was a huge fan of. Oh yeah, and the number on the back of this Electabuzz's shirt is the same number as its Pokedex number. Finally, we get to episode 36, one of the most recent English episodes at the time that this video is being scripted, where Ash battles Olivia, the Akala Island Kahuna. And wouldn't you know it, there is another old strategy used in this battle as well. It's a very brief sequence, and without already having one old battle trick used in the other Kahuna battle, one might be able to write this one off as a coincidence. But it's already happened once before, so this detail is very likely to be intentional as well. Towards the end of the battle, Ash has Rockruff do something that looks very similar to what he did with Froakie in the gym battle versus Grant in the XY saga. Something that was previously called the Froakie Rock Tomb Climb. Continuity is a cool thing, and while continuity alone does not make a series great on its own, how such continuity is used to maintain a larger story does contribute significantly to the long-term experience. It's cool to see that Ash has not forgotten the lessons he learned on his journey, and they've managed to do it in a way that's rewarding to old fans who recognize the callback, but also still making it digestible for newer viewers, which is great too. I imagine, or I hope, that some of these newer viewers might be watching us right now. Welcome to the Pokemon anime, and thank you for watching this video to everyone new and old, and be sure to check out my other videos, and if you like my content, consider contributing to my Patreon. The link and details will be in the video description and in the comment section. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and be sure to leave a comment of your own if I happen to have missed any references or Easter eggs. That's all for now.